and welcome to this meeting of Strategic and Technical Planning, Monday the 30th of June 2025. For the behalf of the public attending today or watching on the live stream, I'm Councillor Sari House, Chair of this committee. My Vice Chair is Dave Bolwell, and the meeting is being live streamed and will be available to view on the Council website after the meeting. By attending this meeting, you consent to being filmed. Can I remind everyone that when you are speaking, please speak clearly and directly into the microphone so that you can easily be heard and seen. The Planning Committee is not a public meeting, but a meeting to which the public is invited. All attendees must comply with the ruling of the Chair. They must not interrupt the meeting or cause undue disturbance. To support this, please switch off your mobile phones or select silent mode for the duration of the meeting. And those using Teams, please ensure your microphones are on mute and your device volume is set to 0 to maintain audio quality. Only those who have registered to speak in accordance with the speaking protocol will be invited to address the committee for a maximum of 3 minutes. That will be limited to the first 3 people objecting and the first 3 people supporting the application to have registered, along with the parish council and ward member. No material is to be circulated to members of the committee. As an update, Agenda Item 6, Planning Application P Full 2023-03982, land at Hurst Farm, Station Road, Morton, Dorchester, DT2 8RA, has now been deferred to a later time. Therefore, we have 3 applications to determine today. The case officer will be invited to present the report and recommendations. Next, I will invite members of the public who have registered to speak with Democratic Services before the deadline to address the committee in the following order: public against, public support, applicant agent, town parish council, and ward members, each of whom will have 3 minutes. Following on from the registered public speakers, the planning officers will have the opportunity to address any salient points they wish to clarify, and committee members will be given the opportunity to ask of the planning officers any material planning considerations or clarifications before moving on to their debate. When we go into councillor questions and debate for the benefit of the public watching, can members state their name and ward when addressing the meeting? Today's meeting will be supported by Megan Rochester, Senior Democratic Service Officer, Joshua Kennedy, Democratic Services, and Phil Crowther, Senior Legal. Other officers supporting today will be Alistair Bevan, Definitive Map Technical Officer, Carol McKay, Senior Definitive Map Technical Officer, Vanessa Penny, Definitive Map Manager, Eleanor Godsar, Senior Planning Officer, Minerals and Waste, and Enrico Diamarino, I believe, Engineer, Development Liaison. Do we have any apologies?
We've received apologies for absence from Councillor Spencer Flower.
And I ask any members of the committee present if they have any declarations of interest. All are indicating no. Thank you. Presumably we've all read the minutes from the last meeting of the 1st of May. Are we content that I sign them at the end of the meeting? Thank you. I'd like to welcome a new member to our committee today, Councillor Matt Bell. Welcome. This is your first meeting of Strategic and Technical. For members of the public, you may speak at the head of the meeting now, or you may wish to leave your representation until we get to your application. What would you choose? With the application. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so our first application is P256, agenda item 5. This is the application to divert a footpath, 46 Oakford Fitzpaine at Darknoll Farm. And this will be presented by Alistair Bevan. Alistair, are you good to go?
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'll just load up the presentation. Apologies. Okay. This is a public path order application for a footpath diversion under Section 119 of the Highways Act 1980. It is being considered by committee due to an objection being made. The location of this application is Darknoll Farm in the parish of Oakford Fitzpaine. The village of Oakford Fitzpaine is to the south, Shillingstones to the east, and Sturminster Newton to the north. The proposed diversion of footpath 46 starts in the village of Oakford Fitzpaine, tracks north and crosses footpath 44 at point A, crosses a bridge with pedestrian gates, traverses a field to 2 more gates across a bridge, traverses another field to a double stile through a field hedge, and then traverses 1 more field through a field gate to point B. The proposed diversion uses footpath 44, then starts at point C, heads west along a field boundary, passing by a tree at point D, through a field gate at point E to point B, and then picks up the current route of footpath 46. This is the current route of footpath 46 to be diverted. Starting at point A, looking towards the bridge. It's at the bridge across Darknoll Brook on the current footpath 46. Past the bridge and across the field looking west. At the second bridge on footpath 46 looking north. Continuing north on footpath 46 across an open field. Approaching the double stile through the field hedge on current footpath 46. And the double stile, which will be avoided on the proposed diversion, making the diversion more accessible. Still heading northwest across the open field towards the field gate and on to point B, So that's at the field gate with point B beyond. Now stood to the west of point B, looking back towards the field gate on current footpath 46. And then at point B again, looking north along the undiverted part of footpath 46. So highlighted here is the proposed diverted route of footpath 46. Starting at point C on the diverted route, looking west. Between point C and D on the diverted route, looking towards the tree at point D. At point D, around the tree. Looking west from point D. Then at the field gate at point E. And a similar shot to before, to the west of point B, looking back towards the field gate on the current footpath 46, to the right with the blue arrow, and the field gate at point E on the proposed diverted route to the left with the red arrow. And again, a similar view at point B, looking north along the undiverted part of footpath 46. Highlighted there is the route of footpath 44, which is unchanged by the diversion, but provides a connection from the current and proposed parts of the diverted path. So at point A, looking along current footpath 44, looking towards the bridge on footpath 44, the gates and the step on the bridge of footpath 44, looking north across the field on footpath 44, and at the field gate on footpath 44, looking towards point C. Route enhancements along the route, the proposed route, include moving water troughs approximately 3 metres off the route and protected by a small fence to reduce the puddling effect by cattle hooves. Stone chippings to be used to raise the level and improve drainage around the tree at point D. And as mentioned previously, a double stile to be avoided by the diverted route. We carried out a consultation on the application and received 6 objections, including from the Parish Council, with 1 broadly in support. Following multiple engagements by the applicant with the parish and villagers, including attending meetings, site visits and articles in local news sheets, the revised proposal was put forward. Following a second consultation, 1 objection was received and 1 representation in support, and the Parish Council withdrew their objection. The order-making tests. In summary, the diversion must be in the interest of the landowner, which this is to improve safe livestock handling. Also, the termination point should not be substantially less convenient. The termination points in this case are on current routes, and although the route is longer, it is not substantially less convenient. Excuse me. For order confirmation, the legal tests must be met. These tests are described in the following slides. The order is in the interest of the landowner as it improves the safety and ease of management of livestock in the fields and aids separation from pedestrians. With regards to convenience, excuse me, objections were made on the length of the new route and the gradient. This is the proposed diversion in the wider context. The current route A to B is approximately 510 metres. The diverted route plus part of footpath 44 used to access it is approximately 790 metres, so an overall increase of approximately 300 metres. But in the context of the overall route to Sturminster Newton, this is a small increase, 300 metres over approximately 4 kilometres. With regards to gradient, the gradient of current footpath 46 and also footpath 44 used to access it are similar at approximately 1 in 17. The proposed diversion is slightly less steep at 1 in 18. Therefore, the proposed route is not substantially less convenient. With regards to public enjoyment, objections mention the extra length in views. The route, although longer, affords the user expansive views to the north and east. Therefore, the diverted route is not, in officers' views, any less enjoyable. The next two slides compare the landscape views at these 2 points. Point 1 is on the current route of footpath 46, and point 2 is on the diverted route of footpath 46. On the current route, views north and south from point 1. So to the north, you have a view across the open field, and to the south, the view is slightly more expansive. At point 2, on the proposed route, to the south is a high hedge, but to the north and east, the views are expansive, making for an enjoyable walk. The diversion would have no material effect on the land served by the current route or over which the new route runs. The diversion will have no adverse effects on agriculture, forestry, flora, fauna, and geological and physiographical features. The proposal affects the applicant's land only, and therefore no compensation would be payable under Section 28 of the Highways Act 1980. Officers consider that the legal tests have been met for confirming the diversion order. The order should therefore be made. If the order is unopposed and considered to meet the legal test, it be confirmed by the Council. If the order is opposed and the objections are of a similar nature to those already discussed, it be submitted to the Secretary of State without further reference to the committee. If the order is submitted to the Secretary of State, the Council supports confirming the order. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I now move on to our first speaker, which is the applicant, Mr. Simon Wheeler. Welcome. You have 3 minutes, and my Vice Chair will give you a heads up at 2 minutes 30 seconds so that you can start to wind up. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. I'm obviously speaking in support of the proposed diverted route. The reasons for the proposed diversion, I think, are clear in the submission. We're seeking an improved route for the footpath to track hedge lines as much as possible, rather than cutting diagonally across the middle of fields, allowing better management of livestock. This is both in terms of management of pasture and the management of problematic and widespread dog feces, which, despite investing in a lot more signage, has not improved. Sadly, we often have to pick up bags of dog mess from all over fields, hedges and gates. If the footpath tracks the hedge line, we can use temporary fencing as the herd moves to keep better delineation between livestock and the public and their dogs. The fields would become too small if we fence the footpath as it is, and it would be too expensive to permanently fence and create these smaller fields that would be less useful. We understand the reluctance to see any changes to footpath routes. We have endeavoured to do all that we can in terms of public consultation, walking the routes with interested parties, meeting any objectors in person who wanted to discuss things, presenting to the parish council, and ultimately altering the original proposed route to take account of the feedback we received. We hope that what we've proposed, whilst a change, will in fact enhance public amenity as well as farming efficiency, as the proposed route is not less convenient and in fact offers new access to stunning views across the whole Vale of Blackmore. It also allows for a better accessibility than the current path, as there will be no need for stiles or bridges, as is currently the case. We therefore believe the new route can be used by more people than can use the current route. We have made every effort to ensure the proposal meets the legal criteria and believe it does so fully. We are a small farm of just under 100 acres, and this route change has a significant financial cost for us, which we see as an investment and commitment to our ongoing stewardship of this plot. Alongside the heifers, we have a number of wildlife supporting schemes we are trying to encourage and invest further in. And we need to bring about this change and the improved agricultural and dog mess control it allows for in order to continue to invest in more planting, to achieve more biodiversity in our meadows, and our ultimate goal of introducing a small herd of English longhorn cattle. We really hope the committee will see fit to accept the application for diversion and see that the diversion order is made. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wheeler. Alistair, is there any points you'd like to come back to on that?
No, Chair.
Thank you very much. So I now open this up to committee if there are any technical questions you wish to ask of the officer. David Taylor, Charminster St Mary.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of observations which I'd like clarification on, please. Technical matters. You say the diversion of the path is from, sorry, put the glass on here, from C to E is the diversion you're requiring, but it's saying the distance is only a certain amount of metres. My observation is noted that it's from A to C to D to E, which means it gives it an added increase on the diversion, but you're not including that in your application. Also, the fact is, I'd like to know about the tree that I've seen on B, I think it is, slide B. To me, can I have that up, please, the photograph? That's it there. Considering the width of the pathway there and the damage to the root system of the tree, has that been taken into consideration with the elevation of the grit, I think, or gravel, which you've been talking about to make the pavement more drainage free? So therefore, that's two questions, please, on that one there. Thank you, Chair.
Apologies. Just going back, I think the original question about the length. The original route from A to B is 510 metres. Yeah. The diverted route from C to B is approximately 460 metres, but then you need to access that from the south, and it's approximately 330 metres from point A to C. So the overall total of the proposed route from A to B would be about 790 metres. So it's an increase of about 300, just under 300 metres.
Just want to balance the application.
With regards to point about the tree, yes, it is a concern. The rangers have been out and they are happy with that. On the order, we can specify a minimum width. The alternative was to lose approximately 2 metres of hedgerow on the other side of the tree, which obviously for habitat is not what we would want to do.
Chair, supplementary to that. Why then, therefore, the pathway cannot go the other side of the tree? Because then it wouldn't actually affect the hedgerow and the tree itself.
Sorry, the alternative is the other side of the tree, and that would mean losing hedgerow from that photograph. You can't see there's a hedgerow that abuts up to the tree, and if we went round the other side to the right on this photo, there's a hedge line that links up with the tree, and you would have to lose approximately 2 metres of that hedgerow and all the habitat that would entail.
Thank you. That's brilliant. Thank you very much for clarification.
Yeah. Thank you, David and Alistair. Councillor Belinda Rideout from Gillingham.
Thank you. Belinda Rideout, Gillingham Ward. Alistair, in your report, you make mention of a scheduled medieval village around Dartnell Farm. Can that be, is there anything to see? Can it be seen? And if so, would the new route be any less enjoyable for the public? Thank you.
If I can find, there is a slide that it's not shown specifically. Just bear with me a moment. The actual historic village is more or less on where the current Route 46 continues. So if you remember this photo, I'm now stood at point B looking towards the north on the unaffected part of footpath 46. There's no remains to be seen on the ground, but the medieval village is around that area. I haven't got a slide, but if you go on Dorset Explorer, you can see where it is. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Rideout and Alistair. Are there any more technical questions of officers? If not, I'm content to move into debate of what appears to be quite a well-considered diversion. Members. Councillor Rideout, Gillingham.
Rideout, Gillingham Ward. Well, obviously I've read everything, listened to everything, and I think, as you say, it's a well put together scheme. There's big improvements to be had. I know it's going roughly the same route, but there is a change in the scenery. So you're looking north, but there's lovely expansion of scenery. So I would I understand the need to divert, especially with the farm's practices. So yeah, I'd be happy to approve. Thank you.
So, Councillor Rideout, does that understanding extend to a proposal? And Councillor Monks, Bedminster.
Thank you, Chair. Just to follow on from my colleague to say that I'm happy to second.
Thank you very much. So we have a proposal and a second. Are there any other proposals or amendments to that? So the proposal is to accept and approve this application for the diversion. So with a simple show of hands, if members could indicate their intent. Thank you very much. So it's application P256 is to grant. Thank you. Yes. Democratic, what was the total? Unanimous. So that's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alistair and team. So, as we said in the introduction, we're not able to proceed with agenda item 6. So we now move to agenda item 7. This is the application PVOC 2024-03497, the anaerobic digester plant, Rainbarrow Farm, Monkeys Jump roundabout to junction below Allington Place, Martinstown, DT2 9JF. Now, Eleanor's going to present this for us, and when you're ready, Eleanor, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. I'll just share my screen. So just before I start, we just have a last-minute change to the condition 2, which is on page 161, 162 of the papers. At the moment, it just says in the middle of the text, if any updates are necessary in terms of the annual review, we just want to include the review itself within that submission to us on an annual basis. So I've just changed, if any updates are necessary, it's changed to the annual review and any updates shall be submitted. Sorry, is that better? Do I need to repeat that, or did you? Okay, thank you. Right, I'll start the presentation. So this application is a deferred matter that has come back to committee. It was deferred in March. It's a retrospective application which seeks to vary the condition 27 and 28, which relate to highway movements and the types of feedstock. So just firstly, just to explain what an anaerobic digester plant is, anaerobic digestion involves the fermentation of organic material by bacteria in the absence of air to produce biogas. So feedstocks, in this case of Rainbarrow Farm, that's agricultural crops, are delivered at harvest time and stored within on-site clamps. Rainbarrow Farm no longer uses waste feedstock, which is different to other digestive plants that you may have come across. So the feedstock is fed into anaerobic digesters via hoppers, and within anaerobic conditions, bacteria ferment the feedstock and biogas is produced, along with other products, including solid digestate, liquid digestate, carbon dioxide, and some electricity. The biogas is then cleaned and then sent to the national gas network. Just showing you a site plan. This is the original red line. You can see the actual main site is here. The digestive plant is here. The feedstock clamps are here. In terms of constraints, the site's within the Dorset National Landscapes. In terms of heritage assets, there are a number of scheduled monuments, the most significant being Maiden Castle, which is approximately 1.3 kilometres south of the site. And then in terms of residences, we've got the radio station cottages, approximately 395 metres from the top of the site, and other residences, including Rainbow Farm itself, approximately 345 metres to the south. This is just a site plan showing you the 2012 permission layout. It accepted approximately 35,000 tonnes per annum. So we have the anaerobic digester here where the feedstock is fed into the system, the digester store where the biogas is stored, and then the feedstock clamps are on the right-hand side. At that time, 3 had been approved with the application. And then the other significant planning history is the 2017 permission, which secured an additional clamp to the south here, and that resulted in an increase to approximately 42,500 tonnes of feedstock per annum. Just some photos of the site showing on the left, these are the areas of feedstock storage. We've got the anaerobic digester. Apologise, they're not the best because they were taken into the sun on the day. And then the dome is the digestate store. Oops. And then just some closer up views of the feedstock. At the time that I went on site, they were delivering, it was the maize harvest, I believe. So you can see a tractor on the feedstock there. And then just showing an up close picture of the hopper feeding area. And then this is the solid digestate, which comes out of the operation. So moving on to what we're actually here to consider. This is condition 27, the original condition, which references specific paragraphs within the planning support statement, which were used to calculate the number of vehicle movements which were accepted. And I'll just show you the paragraph which in the planning statement which was used to calculate. The way it worked out, it was for the 2012 permission, 64 vehicle trips per day on average. And that was in the busiest autumn period, which is when the feedstock, a lot of the feedstock is received. And then the 2017 permission, with the increase of feedstock on site, estimated 100 vehicle trips per day within the busiest autumn period for that short period of time. And then moving on to, we've been provided some data from 2023, which is broken down into maize, rye and oats. These average loads per day, they're deliberately not, there's deliberately not a total because they're at different times of the year. So in terms of the highest averages, we'd be looking at around 100. And then at the moment, I mentioned it was retrospective. They have about 54,000 tonnes coming in annually. They are proposing within this application to increase it to 60,000. So we've got the predicted calculations for the 60,000 annual tonnage as well. So the highest level, which is maize, in the autumn period would be 111 average loads estimated. So in terms of the highway network, the plan at the bottom just shows where the site is in relation to the Monkeys Jump roundabout on the A35. The access point is where my pointer is, and the distance from that point to the roundabout is approximately 275, 280 metres. So there will be all the movements for the site will be going along that short stretch of Bridport Road, and then they will quickly enter the main distribution area with the A35, A37 and A35 East and West, A37. And there is one site which is to the south that would be, their most efficient route would be Bridport Road. So in terms of percentages, we're looking at from 0.11% to 0.59% on the in relation to the overall number of movements along those three roads. So looking at those figures, the Highway Authority has not raised any concerns in terms of highway safety. There are various reasons which I've outlined on that slide, that the high vehicle movements would only be for short periods in the harvest time. Site access is only located 275 metres from the roundabout. The short distance of graters trips before they disperse, and also we looked at the McDonald's restaurant, which is adjacent to the roundabout, but although there is parking along there, it does not obstruct the highway. So since the report, this application was deferred in March, the applicant has done a lot of work in terms of engaging with the parish councils, ward councillors, and the main aim of this is to help them or encourage them to look at the delivery and servicing plan, which is central to this planning application in terms of managing and resolving any concerns in terms of the vehicle movements. They've also offering to do a liaison committee or liaison group at least twice a year, and that's secured within the recommended conditions, and that would involve any community, like the parish councils and ward councillors, members of the public who may have some concerns. So just turning to the delivery and servicing plan, its main objectives are listed there. So to control and regulate routes for HGVs, manage the tonnage so that it's coming in more evenly and we're not getting tractors and trailers turning all up all at once on the site, and effective communication with the hauliers and suppliers. So they're aware of this servicing plan, that they will work with it, and also they won't be able to just turn up. It will be prior arrangement for them to come and deliver feedstock. I just thought I'd show you a slide of where the feedstock store sites are. The majority are within 10 miles, of the site, with some outliers. And in terms of Martinstown area in particular, there is proposed to be a restriction along the route between Winterbourne Abbas and Martinstown. So there's only one feedstock site which would need to deliver directly in that area, and all the others would be asked to use the main distribution network. So in terms of its restrictions, I won't go through them in any detail, but it basically outlines the requirements that they will be following, and also asking hauliers to follow. So moving on to condition 28, this also links to the original planning support statement. So I'll just show you the paragraphs which are relevant. So originally they had various feedstocks to be used within the digestate operation. Over time, they've found which ones work best and which are the most reliable and provide the most consistent amount of gas. And so I've explained in the report why certain things were eliminated, like the dairy cow slurry, chicken manure, and the potato pulp. So we're left with the maize and grass silage. So we've got maize and rye, and they've also introduced oats since this was approved. So that is also being sent to site at the moment, and they'd like to include that within a revised, amended condition. So in conclusion, the anaerobic digestive plant has been in operation since 2012, and the current application is seeking to regularise increased traffic levels, annual feedstock throughput, and types of feedstocks. There has been an incremental increase in annual feedstock from 35,000 tonnes for the original permission, 42,500 accepted in 2017. So the trips to and from the site are concentrated on a short length of Bridport Road between the entrance and Monkeys Jump roundabout, and then they disperse along the A35, A37. Filling of storage clamps is during harvest periods, which are they do generate high but variable numbers of vehicle trips for short periods in the spring, early summer and autumn. However, the location and characteristics of the vehicle movements have raised no highway safety concerns from Highways Authority. So in order to address amenity concerns, a delivery and servicing plan has been submitted and is secured through condition. And then we've also got various conditions which secure the delivery and servicing plan, quantity and type of feedstock, and future feedstock locations. So the recommendation is to grant planning permission subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eleanor. So I now invite our first speaker, Councillor Charles Norman. Charles, you'll have 3 minutes, and we will give you a heads up at 2 minutes 30 without just cutting you off. As you see, Charles is a councillor, but he's speaking today in his personal capacity. So the clock will start when you start, Charles.
Thank you. Good morning. As I am chairman of the Winterbourne Farringdon Council, and the plant lies 100 metres from our boundary, and the parish boundary is the northern boundary is the ring road around Dorchester. When originally proposed, it was going to use feedstock from the owners' farms and slurry from dairy farms. We acknowledge all plans change. However, we all thought the plant was operating within its planning permission and it was being monitored, and therefore we could not complain about the amount of tractor traffic it generated. It now appears the previous owners were pushing the boundaries, so we have the opportunity to reduce the amount of traffic. Yes, the plant has put several million a year into the local economy, but it has displaced some food production and raised the level of rent on agricultural land. You're choosing food producing or energy. Digestate is a sterile fertilizer, unlike farmyard manure. No bugs or vertebrae. It adds little or no organic matter to the soil over 12 months. If you were concerned about Poole Harbour nitrate and phosphate, you would not necessarily choose to build a digester in the river basin. The digestate is full of dissolvable nitrate and phosphate. Why allow it to get bigger? Another issue is the legal weight limit of trailers. Although the weight limit of the whole tractor and trailer has been raised, the weight limit on the tractor is still trailer is still 18.29 tonnes. Any slurry tanker bigger than 3,000 gallons is almost certainly overweight. Trailers hauling forage in, depending on the density of the crop, may well also be overweight. But as the plant operator knows the weight of all movements in and out, if they are overweight, are they legally complicit to breaking the law? Any future agreement, I believe, should limit the tractor journeys to a radius of, say, 6 miles, and the digestate removed from the river basin, and perhaps 40 or 50% of the feedstock stored off-site and brought in by HGVs to reduce the peak movements. We say it's a short time, but over 3 or 4 weeks in September, it is a huge number of movements along the bypass. As far as the lagoon is concerned, Their current digestate slurry store should be covered to stop rainfall, no problem with that. But at current production rates, it is only about 2 months storage. Agriculture is moving to 5 months storage, whereas at the approved level of production, it would be nearer 4 months storage. I believe these are pertinent matters that should be considered by the committee. We are basically concerned about the amount of movements over a short period of time around the bypass. Thank you, Chairman. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Charles. So we move on to our next speaker, which is Councillor Les Fry. Les is a councillor in this place and will be speaking in his personal capacity.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as you say, I speak in my personal capacity on this. This development is not in my ward, but as a local resident, I'm interested in this power production system, as the gas produced is used in the Dorchester and Weymouth areas, helping to make our county more self-sufficient. Most of its use, gas in one way or another, so benefits from this digester, and demand for gas is increasing. We aim to reduce air miles in all our areas of our lives, so what can be more local than to get energy on our doorstep? It is not possible to produce gas without any negatives. For example, solar panels evoke complaints regarding the visual impact and the removal of agricultural land from food production. Wind turbines impact the landscape. There's also concern about the disposal of the blades and base materials at the end of the turbine's useful life. You've also got nuclear with the fears of its use and the disposal of it. Biodigesters' concerns have been raised about the waste of cattle feed being used to feed the digester, but it is not within our gift to tell farmers what to do with the produce from their farms. There will be tractor movements. Many of these will be weather dependent, taking the material to the digester. This is only for a few months of the year. Until hydrogen tractors are produced, dealers are used to power these machines. This digester is a low impact on the environment, as very little of it can be seen from the road. I drive past it most weeks and hardly notice it at all. Very few will be impacted by the increased size of the lagoon, as it can't be seen. This digester has been active for many years. The road was built in 2012 with very few movements off-site. To permit this now would regularise the gas development process. So yes, it's retrospective, but it's been operating trouble-free and, to my knowledge, complaint-free since its origin. So please support this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fry. We now move to our next speaker. This is the agent, Darren Stockley. And Darren, as the other speakers, you have 3 minutes and you will be given a heads up at 2 minutes 30, and the time starts when you start.
Good morning, Chair and members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this application. My name is Darren Stockley and I'm the Operations Managing Director for ENGIE in the South West. For those not familiar, Rainbow Anaerobic Digestion Facility was opened in 2012 as the first facility in the UK to export renewable gas into the network. Until February 24, it was owned by JV Evergen, who were a company partly owned by the Duchy of Cornwall. The project is one of Dorset's greenest facilities as it generates renewable gas which is used in the local area, captures CO2 and produces an organic fertiliser. Since purchasing the plant, ENGIE has sought to be open and transparent with the local community. Therefore, this retrospective application is seeking to bring existing planning approvals up to date with the existing operations. It is not asking for any expansion or change to that has not been in place for 5 years. It will regularise the tonnage that is being fed to the plant at 60,000 tonnes per annum from the current 35,000 tonnes, and to update the locally sourced feedstocks, where all new types of feedstock will be sourced within a 15-mile radius of the site. Since the decision for this application was deferred at the last committee meeting, in March, we have been working to formalise arrangements to meet planning conditions put forward by Dorset Council. This is primarily outlined in our delivery and service plan, laying out specific rules on vehicular movements to and from the site. This includes ensuring vehicle movements through minor roads would be limited to restricted routes and to restrict the vehicle movements through harvesting periods, ensuring all deliveries and collections are made by prior arrangement, and providing a log of vehicular movements that will be made available to Dorset Council. Dorset Council will also have enforcement powers for this plan through planning control, including the ability to serve enforcement action to NG as the operators of the facility, and Highways have not objected to our proposed measures. Dorset Council will also be able to measure the compliance through weighbridge recording and weekly oversight of scheduled deliveries with access to records and inspections. More recently, NG have held meetings with the 3 local parish councils, Winterbourne St Martin, Winterbourne Farrington and Winterbourne Abbas parish councils, and the host ward member, Councillor Roland Tarr, to discuss our proposals and to work to address specific concerns in more detail. And we are open to meeting more local stakeholders on request. We have also reached out to Stinford Parish Council and finalising arrangements to meet them. NG is also proposing a community liaison group, both as a condition of planning and as part of a broader commitment to proactive engagement. The group is proposed to meet quarterly with local residents and stakeholders and to help identify areas where they can support local community groups more broadly. To summarise, the effects of the scheme have been fully considered or were mitigated through effective control and engagement measures.
That's 3 minutes, Darren. Thank you very much for that representation. Eleanor, is there any salient points you'd like to come back to any of those speakers?
Just one point, that the site does have a weighbridge, so any harvest amounts are weighed when they go into the site. I just wanted to raise that point. So there is an accurate amount of tonnage which is recorded regularly. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Now, members may have noticed that we had local ward member Roland Tarr down as a registered speaker. Roland's not with us today, but we do have a representative which I've allowed to speak. I think turning up is as good a reason as any. This is Councillor Roger Holhouse. And Roger, the same will apply to you. You have 3 minutes and you will be given a heads up at 2 minutes 30.
Thank you for letting me in, and I will try not to duplicate. Could I just say that we welcome the engagement with the community from the applicant, and I think we have identified that the disconnect between the two sides largely comes down to one side providing figures in terms of annualized movements, and the public perception, of course, is peak loading. Since we've identified that the digester itself requires a constant supply of feedstock, there is opportunity for allowing both sides to meet their objectives with the logistic chain. That might require some developments downstream, but the willingness of the applicant to engage is encouraging. So peak loading is what worries the public, frankly.
Roger, thank you very much. Eleanor, if I can ask you something just to make clear to committee at this point that we discussed in the pre-meet. So Roger rightly says that it needs a constant supply to operate, but we understand that that supply won't be there for a whole calendar year. And you spoke about operations continuing within the site with regards to the digestate. If you could just explain that.
My understanding is that they have enough feedstock. That's the purpose of the feedstock clamps, is to store feedstock on site, so that it's coming in at particular times during the year, and then that would feed it continuously. So by the time they get to the next harvest period, all the feedstock storage will have reduced. But we have intake in April and May and June, but also in the end of October, sort of October, November time. So two periods when the harvest will be bringing in feedstock, and then it will store it. So my understanding is that it won't run out because they will be able to store enough on site.
Thank you for that, Eleanor. So now I invite any of the committee members, if they have any questions that they wish to ask regarding this variation of conditions. Councillor Taylor, Charminster St Mary.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm actually representative of Charminster St Mary, which is the northern ward, which wraps around north of Dorchester and actually incorporates the villages of Stinsford, Charminster St Mary, Frampton and Stratton. Residents have been worried about the traffic increase, which we've discussed today, and I'm pleased to say that it's been taken into effect of the travel arrangements being arranged and making sure that they're not impeding on the local community too hardly as they were before. My concern is the fact is that we have at weekends and Friday and Monday, all the way through the year, where traffic comes to Gridstock. Is that been allowed for as in procedures to override that as in overnight travel, etc., to actually make sure the transport is delivered and not affecting the residents? Finally, could I just say, on the amount of journeys done, do we have the definition of the transport being used? Is it diesel, petrol, or is it electric? Because I consider that the amount of runs could enhance our pollution problem, as in with the local community as well. So has that been taken into effect? Thank you, Chair.
Start with your last question about the, I mean, it's not electric, that's probably the most, I'm not sure if it's petrol or diesel, but it is not electric. Diesel, yeah, well, a tractor's diesel. You had raised a question about the timing, operation times. So the condition 12, that has hours between 7 and 6 Mondays to Friday, and then 7 till 1 on Saturdays, but not Sundays. So that's actually from the original permission. So we've just carried that through to this amended application.
Thank you very much for the work done. It is a remarkable improvement on the last application, and I can't see anything for that to go forward. But thank you, Chair, for support.
Thank you, David. I'm mindful I've got 2 other people in committee that wish to speak, and also the Vice Chair. So if I can go to Dave Bolwell first, then we'll move to David Took and Richard Crabb.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chair. Eleanor, I had a problem hearing your introduction for some reason, that the microphone wasn't very clear. Could you clarify for members what we're actually debating and discussing here? It's a variation of a condition, or the conditions. Is there a slide that you can put on the screen so we can actually visually see it? I did struggle to hear, so I do apologise, but I think it would be helpful so that we could concentrate on the actual thing in front of us rather than the general purpose of the anaerobic digester, etc. Thank you.
Sure, I'll just share my screen again. It just takes a little while to respond. I'll just go back to the first slide, which shows it's a very wordy application description, because we need to provide the original description and the, because there was a subsequent amendment in there, so that's why it's so wordy. But probably the main part that you are considering today is the very last bit in brackets. So with variation of conditions 27 and 28 of the Planning Permission to regularise the existing development by increasing traffic levels, annual feedstock throughput and feedstocks. So I can just move to the actual conditions. So that was condition 27. As I explained before, it links directly to several paragraphs, which I will now show you. And so in terms of what because variation of condition application provides an opportunity for us to review the conditions, because it's a new planning permission. So we haven't just swapped condition 27 in the original permission for us exactly, the same condition 27, but we have secured recommending securing a number of conditions which do address those amendments. So I don't have a slide in terms of the conditions, but they are in your papers. So I think condition 2 was on 161. So just bear with me, please. So if you turn to your papers, we've got the delivery and servicing plan, which is suggested to be secured. The feedstocks quality and type, that's where we're suggesting a maximum of 60 tonnes per annum, and also specifying the types of feedstocks. The feedstock source sites, which was in relation to that drawing, shall be within 15 miles of the site. I think that's probably all the others have come from the original permission. So we've got the operating hours, air quality. So that's really, I hope, explains why, what we're considering today. Thank you.
Yes, thanks very much, Eleanor. I think it was important to clarify it's just a variation of those the 27 and 28, and not about the general principle of the anaerobic digester itself, which is members can sometimes get slightly diverted. So thank you very much for the clarification.
Thank you very much. No, you can't at the moment, I'm afraid. So Councillor David took Cranbourne and Alderholt.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Councillor David Took, Cranbourne and Alderholt. We're looking, a great significant part of this is traffic movements. And it's going to be seasonal. There's not going to be traffic movements all the time. It's going to be at certain times of the year. And there could be a lot at those times of the year. And one of the issues that strikes me is queuing. So if you get deliveries where people are queuing outside, and you see it all the time in logistics, transport sites, lorries turn up and they have to queue outside before they can get access to the site. How are we managing queuing in this?
Eleanor, can I suggest that maybe your slide 12 is helpful for this?
Is that one? Yeah. That's central to the application is the delivery and servicing plan. So there's words in there that say that the operator will work with those who are delivering feedstocks to make sure that there isn't queuing. There will be appointments to turn up on site. And if there are problems, and I understand it is regular farms who are coming in. It's not like it's just a delivery they are actual sites which are regularly coming in and delivering feedstock. So they will have would have a good communication with the drivers and be able to manage that as they go along. And there's also there was a section to basically allow for any unplanned issues like that. Just bear with me, I'll just... there was something, bear with me. Now I've said it, I'm going to have to try and find it, aren't I? Yes, so the DSP manager must assess the feedstock deliveries scheduled for each forthcoming week. Because at the end of the day, the feedstock will be harvested when it's ready. So there are ideal climatic conditions when it's dry. And when it's ready, they want to harvest it as quickly as possible because it's then at its prime. So the DSP manager will be aware of that, and they will be keeping an eye on that and then contacting the farms to make sure that they are delivering with a regular flow as opposed to all turning up at once. Thank you.
Thank you. having worked over many years with an awful lot of logistics companies who have lorries turning up at their sites, it's not always as easy to manage as you might be suggesting. There are many occasions when lorries turn up when they're not supposed to, and you've got to have a mechanism for dealing with that. So other than saying the DSP manager is responsible, I don't see a great deal of detail as to how they will handle that. And the other part of that concern is that this whole thing seems to have been driven by an increase in the number of deliveries over the years, which my suspicion is it will continue to increase. And so we need to be planning for increasing deliveries and how we deal with early deliveries or late deliveries, missed deliveries, that then cause a knock-on queuing. And it seems that all we're saying is DSP will sort that, but that frankly doesn't give me a lot of confidence.
Eleanor, with regards to that point, I think this is covered within the service delivery plan. There is potential for an issue, and that's mitigated by the DSP. So I don't know if you've got anything more to add to that.
Thank you, Chair. Just one point. If you look at the drawing on the slide, you can see that the distance from the access to Monkey's Jump roundabout is approximately 275 metres. Where the feedstock clamp is actually in this sort of area here. So there's actually a similar distance from the entrance to where the feedstock clamps are. So it's quite a long distance. I'm not suggesting that they are going to have lots of tractors and trailers all queuing up, but there is substantial area on site to facilitate that problem if it were to arise. Thank you.
So there's sufficient room on site for people to queue on site and not feed back onto the road.
I'd suggest there is also, in the DSP, it just says, I'll just read this out to you, ensure effective communication with hauliers and suppliers to ensure drivers will be notified of their obligations under the DSP in advance of visiting the site and kept informed of any changes over time.
Okay, we now move to Councillor Richard Crabb, Sherborne West. Richard.
Thank you, Chair. My question was kind of similar, and that is in terms of weighbridge logging. Is that done completely manually or in real time? How accessible will that be so that movements can be checked via the weighbridge? Thank you.
Hello there. Just to answer your question on that one, when it comes to weighbridges, they have to, by law, register each load that comes out, and when they come back in, they have to register again. And also, a lot of vehicles now, excuse my voice, a lot of the vehicles now on tractors, they normally have a self-weighing loading thing, like a self-weighing calculator. So basically what it does, it can actually calculate the load that the tractors are carrying, as well as using the weighbridge on the site as well. So it's covered either way. So it has to be done, like I said, it's under legislation that they've got to do that. Basically with the Dorset Council, when they have to do the gritting, exactly the same. It's required.
Thank you. We now move to Councillor Belinda Borden from Lyme Regis and Charmouth.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was struggling to hear today. So apologies if this has already been explained, but I'm just curious to know about the enforcement side. I think that the applicant's agent did mention the agreements that have been put in place for the community to, to engage and to check and to be reassured, but I couldn't hear everything. So if you wouldn't mind explaining that, thank you very much.
Thank you. So the condition 2, which is the delivery and servicing plan, suggested condition, it requires a log of vehicle movements. They are going. We're asking that they're offering to annually review the delivery and servicing plan and to provide updates. And these are things that if we could enforce against. So the log, we're asking for formal records to be available for inspection at our request. So if there are, and also we've got in the background, we'd have the community liaison group, which would hopefully address some of these issues before they become a problem. So, so it's sort of a package of proactive and reactive measures. Thanks.
So Councillor David Taylor, Charminster St Mary's.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You've actually picked up on something. Sorry, I meant to ask this question earlier as well. Coming back to the enforcement actions of the council, making sure they can go and inspect what's going on. Now, they've said to and I think I quote, it says, you have to pre-arrange an appointment to actually go in. Why is that? If you're doing an inspection, you'd be allowed to go in at any time. It says in some of the language, but at the end, I think it is saying, you can't just turn up. You have to make an appointment.
Could you please clarify where you saw that? Was it in the report? Condition 2, which is the delivery and servicing plan condition again, it's saying shall be made available for inspection by the local planning authority at 7 days' notice. Is that? So say we had a complaint, then it's just basically courtesy to ask the applicant to put together their records and then provide them, so giving them a week to provide them to us.
So just a note for our record and for the audio and anybody watching online, it's really helpful if all members can address the chair, because then you're looking at your mic and not face the officers. Thank you. I know you're a very personable person and would like an eye to eye, and I'm sure Eleanor would appreciate that too, but our protocol is that we go through the chair. Thank you.
Can I come back, Sharon? Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the explanation. It's just that we've had in the past, hence why this application has come back to the Cabinet again, is where conditions weren't adhered to, as we know about the deliveries, excess deliveries, tonnage, etc. So therefore, my question is still standing. Why do we have to give notice when something like the inspectorates of alcohol licenses, etc., could just walk in and inspect what's going on? That's my concern. In fact, it's like 7 days is a long time before we can actually inspect something. Thank you, Chair. That's my concern.
We now move to Councillor Pete Roper, Portland.
Thank you for the introduction, Chair. Much appreciated. I have a question as regards the hours of operation. I think sort of through the sort of harvest period, the summer months, it'd be from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. But I know that that sort of farms work extended hours, particularly during the harvest. And I'm wondering if this is likely to impact on the hours of operation of the plants. Farms do harvest overnight, and obviously the tractors will be full and ready to go to the plants probably outside of these hours. So I'm just wondering if there's any recognition of the fact of how farms actually work during harvest periods.
Thank you, Chair. I will just go to the condition which relates to operating hours and just read it out so we're clear what's before you. It's condition 12. So, excluding harvest times of the feedstocks to supply the anaerobic digester plant hereby approved, the site shall only be open to receive and dispatch any vehicle carrying feedstocks digested or any other material or equipment associated with the operation. And then it gives the operating hours between 7 and 6 and on Mondays to Fridays, 7 and 1 on Saturdays and not on Sundays. So it does exclude the harvest time feedstocks. So all the, and I just wanted to clarify if there was that misunderstanding. But as explained in the presentation, it's for a short period of time, and I have shown you the levels at the highest peak average as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that satisfactory for your answer, Councillor Roper? It is, thank you. Okay. If there are no more technical conversations, there is one. There is one. It's Councillor Rideout from Gillingham.
Rideout, Gillingham Ward. Just a quick question, please. It occurred to me. Thank you, Eleanor. In your report, you alluded to no significant increase in movements, and the presentation we have from the applicant said the same. So am I assuming then that the business is always at the current time running at around 60,000 or just under tonnes?
So at the moment, I understand their feedstock is about 54,000 tonnes, and they part of this application is to increase up to 60,000 tonnes. Sorry, I've forgotten the first part of your question.
If I may, Chair. I was just asked if they were running at 60,000 now, but you told me it's just below, but that's all been okayed up to 60,000 by the Highway Authority. Yeah. And can I just confirm, please, Chair, it's mostly tractors and trailers coming in and out with the digestate, and that 60,000 tonnage includes the in and the out?
The tonnage is obviously just the imports, because that's brought into the site and then left on the site and then put into the digestate process to generate the gas. So exports is part of the next planning application that I will present to you shortly, hopefully. Thank you.
Okay, so can we move this into debate now? Okay, it's like the Wild West, isn't it? Councillor Matt Bell, please.
Thank you. Councillor Matt Bell, Radipole Ward in Weymouth. Thank you very much for the presentation. Interesting to hear a lot of the questions. I thought the report was very thorough, and thank you for that. So sorry for not having a technical question, but I think you covered the vast majority of those points in the report and very valuable. This is part of our local circular economy. It's inevitable that it's going to create traffic movement. We are a rural county. This is rural traffic benefiting the community, leading us to be more self-sufficient. And for that reason, I'm very supportive, given that the delivery and service plan is available for annual review. There's the liaison group. I think a lot of the queries from the past have been covered. So thank you very much for the report, and I'm definitely supporting this one.
And Councillor Craig Monks, Bedminster Ward.
Thank you, Chair. I couldn't have said it better myself. I was going to say I'm happy to second if that was a proposal. And just to really follow on, I was one of the councillors at the previous committee that raised some concerns around traffic movement, but I think the report and the work by the applicant has really, settled those fears that I had at the time, and I also welcome the comments from councillors for both for and against the application as well. But I think we're at a point where I'm satisfied from the previous meeting, and I'm happy to second Councillor Bell's proposal.
So for a matter of the record, I need to return to Councillor Matt Bell to, for the record, to formally hear your proposal.
I'm happy to propose the officer recommendation. Do I need to say it explicitly?
And that's inclusive of the update that we had at the start. Thank you. And just to confirm that you're content that that is what you're seconding.
Yes, I'm content. I was going to be silly then and say I've changed my mind, but no, I'm content. I'll second as proposed.
Yeah. Councillor Belinda Borden, Lyme Regis and Charmouth.
I think I'm having mic problems today. Thank you for the introduction, and just to agree with my colleagues and for the completeness of cross-party agreement, I think the points about the circular economy, the energy is actually used locally, which doesn't happen with other renewable installations, and I'm very pleased about the community engagement and the ongoing stakeholder group and the ability to have better understanding between the people who were concerned or are concerned. So thank you very much for all the work that's been done on this, and I would be happy to support this.
Thank you very much. So I think probably we all recognise and appreciate that this coming back to us and having been so mindful of representations that have been made that have been accommodated in this variation. So unless there is anything else that anyone has a burning desire to say, I'm content to take this to a vote with a simple show of hands. So the vote is to grant, bearing in mind the update at the beginning. It's been proposed, it's been seconded, and if you could show me with a simple show of hands, those in support. Okay, that's a unanimous vote. So application PVOC 2024-0349, the anaerobic digester plant, Rainbarrow Farm, Monkeys Jump roundabout to junction below Allington Place, Martinstown, DT2 9JF is granted. We now move to application PFUL 2025-00591. This is the same site, Rainbarrow Farm, anaerobic digester plant. This presentation, again, is led by Eleanor, and we have, in fact, we have the same speakers after your presentation. Thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you, Chair. So the second application for Rainbarrow Farm relates to a digested lagoon and hard standing, and they're also proposing to install a lagoon cover over the lagoon. So part retrospective with an element of proposal. Taking you to the site plan, I'll just get my cursor. So the main site that we've just considered is in this area here. The storage lagoon is here, hard standing, and then a cover. Just a close-up of the site plan of the lagoon. Some photos showing the arrangements. So we've got the lagoon here, and then the hard standing on the right-hand side. And sorry, I'll just go back to the side just to point out the red line extends to the highway and uses the same access as the main site does. So just in terms of some constraints, again, we have some scheduled monuments to the south of the site, and with the most significant being Maiden Castle. So we have received a heritage assessment for this application because it relates to considering the baseline when the lagoon wasn't there, to a lagoon with hard standing and a cover. So these have been considered and have been assessed and have found that there's no material harm to heritage assets. We've also received a landscape assessment, which also considers the site from public viewpoints along public rights-of-way, from Maiden Castle, from the A35, for example. And in terms of its impact, the lagoon was assessed to be a low to negligible impact in the landscape. So the lagoon cover itself is proposed to be a soft cover, which would float on the lagoon, and it's been conditioned to be a black in colour. So it would be the same as the feedstock clamps, which are covered up once the harvest has been delivered, and they are also conditioned to be black. So in terms of highway movements, the applicants kindly provided some data which shows the per day export numbers for the last about 12 months. So providing a monthly total, an average daily total. So you can see that they are low. They're all under 10 per day, with the exception of March, which is 16. But I would like to just point out that the digestate is only exported to 2 sites. So the first site is Rainbow Farm itself. So the exports will not actually enter the highway. They will be, the digestate will be distributed on the farm for fertiliser. And then the contractor who deals with these exports also takes it to a lagoon which is east of Dorchester. So these per day or monthly figures don't break down which it is. So they will be lower than these figures, which are already low in any case. So as I've said, the effects on the national landscape are localised and overall negligible to minor. Given the significant separation distances, the proposal would result in no harm to the setting of the designated or non-designated heritage assets. The lagoon has no ecological value as a habitat, and the application is regarded as de minimis in terms of biodiversity net gain. Vehicle movements associated with the export would be low and would not detrimentally impact on highway capacity or safety. The proposal would not result in increased risk of flooding or pollution. And then we have suggested a condition to secure mitigation in relation to surface water and groundwater. And then subject to restriction on operating hours and potential future lighting, the lagoon, hard standing and proposed cover would not result in any additional impacts to neighbouring amenity. So the recommendation is to grant planning permission subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I move to our public speaker, and once again we get to hear from Charles. And same format as before, Charles, it's 3 minutes, and the time starts with you.
Thank you, Chairman. I must say I wasn't aware that I was speaking twice, but thank. No, okay. We are pro the lagoon. My question really is it big enough if you're increasing the feedstock going into the plant? And yes, farmers want to spread it at certain times of the year. I see that the government regulations are going to be changing and that the autumn spreading is going to be perhaps reduced ability. And therefore, I just wonder whether, in fact, it's all big enough. And also the weight of the tankers leaving, I would suggest, I've seen a number of tankers on the bypass with lots of extra equipment on, over 3,000 gallons, and they must be overweight if they're full. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Charles. I'm sure those are all comments that you'll pick up in due course. Councillor Fry, did you wish to speak again?
I think I've said all I need, other than to say support this application. It's locally produced green energy, as green as you can get, and this is good for the community and good for us in West Dorset. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. And Darren, I'm almost certain you'll want to speak at this point.
This application is for permission of a digestate storage lagoon that was originally approved under permitted development. It also proposes to include a lagoon cover that would comply with the national recommendations of the Environment Agency. Having purchased the site in 2024, this retrospective application shows ENGIE's efforts to have a correctly regulated site at Rainbow Farm and a commitment to the transparency in their operations. The lagoon cover does not mark a significant change to the existing operations of the site. Putting a cover on will bring operations in line with the Environment Agency regulations, reduce potential odour impacts and prevent rainwater entering the lagoon. The lagoon itself has been in place for a number of years and holds digestate, which is an organic fertiliser produced by the anaerobic digestion process. The Rainbow Farm site has a proud track record of producing nutrient-rich soil conditioner, which helps local farmers and gardeners to reduce their reliance on chemical fertilisers that are more harmful to the environment. There are several other points of interest to note, highlighting the minimal impact of this development. The design of the lagoon, fence and hard standing preserves the character of the Dorchester Downs. The setting of the surrounding heritage assets would be preserved. Vehicle movements associated with the export of digestate will not materially impact upon the highway capacity or safety. And the surface water of the drainage system of the lagoon will have negligible impact on flood risk. Note that local residents and stakeholders will also have the opportunity to engage with ENGIE on the use of the lagoon through the community liaison group. The principle of retaining the existing lagoon hard standing and proposed lagoon cover are acceptable and would be in line with policy INT1 of the West Dorset, Weymouth and Portland Local Plan 2015. Approving this application will ensure that Rainbow Farm is able to continue to operate effectively and contribute towards the achievement of international, national and local climate targets in support of its accelerated efforts towards net zero and the UK's push for energy independence. Thank you.
Thank you very much there, Darren. Roger, would you wish to speak again? No. Thank you very much. Eleanor, would you like to respond to some of those points?
Thank you, Chair. I think, is the lagoon large enough? I think the applicant has explained that it's to help with their operation going forward with the 60,000 feedstock annual import that from the last planning application. And in terms of overweight tankers, again, the vehicles will be weighed as they go out. Everything's weighed in and out. So they would be weighing them in terms of how heavy they are and how much digestate is being exported off the site. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So members, we have, gosh, look at this. I think that's a flurry of hands. So we'll start with Councillor David Taylor for Charminster St Mary, please.
Thank you, Chair. Of course, welcome the application because, as I said, it's beneficial for the future production of energy-free, which is excellent. There's a note at the very last caveat, just before we go to the subject, about the lighting. Can someone kind of open that up a bit? Because it says for future lighting proposals. I don't understand that bit because that means it's like it's another application for lighting. And as it's in an area of ANOB and protected downlands, Lighting and dark skies, I get a little bit jumpy about. So could I have an opening on that one to see where we're going with that, please? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. So in terms of the lighting, if you had looking through the representations, we did have a objection concern from a neighbour in terms of the tractors going into the site and using it like outside, say, daylight hours, using their lights. Now, that has been addressed through a condition for operating hours. So we wouldn't expect the tractors to be going in and using headlights because they'd be, during the sort of daylight hours, ideally. And then I was going to say something. Sorry, remind me. Sorry, Chair.
Last piece of paper you had up there saying subject to grant, please. Yes, that one.
Thank you. Yes, so lighting, we have just put that in case the applicant decides in the future that they want to put any lighting in, and so we would be able to secure them submitting the details to us first, so we can review them in terms of like having light spill contained within the site with hoods and on the lights. So there's no lighting proposed at the moment, but it's if in the future they decided to, that we have got that control.
That was the question, to make sure that it is a future application for lighting, because it is in a very, very delicate area for NOB, land down, etc., and dark skies. Thank you, Chair.
And now Councillor David Took from Cranbourne and Alderholt.
Thank you, Chair. I think this looks very useful. My concern, and the thing I just want a little bit of reassurance about, is leakage into groundwater. We have a lagoon, you've got wonderful impermeable membrane. Is there any inspection routine required for maintaining that? And when we have exceptionally heavy rainfall, which we appear to be more and more prone to receiving, then it can lift the level of stuff in the lagoon and could spill out. I notice there's a water course just to the north of it. So what precautions are we able to take to prevent intrusion of this probably rather unpleasant material into groundwater and into water courses, affecting fish life, affecting all sorts of reptiles, amphibians? How are we avoiding that? Thank you.
Thank you. So in terms of the liner, I haven't received the details because it's in place already, because it's retrospective. I mean, it's sort of, you're crossing over into Environment Agency remit as well in terms of leakage. But I think there is a condition that is it on this one? Sorry. There may not be a condition in terms of unscheduled leaks or anything, but we could put that on this application as well. It would be the same condition which is on the previous application. So that might be something. And then the other concern you had in terms of whether it overflows, for that they do, if they have got a high rainfall event, then they do actually come in and feed the digestive out of the lagoon if they have that problem, and they can send it to the other site to manage it or to spread it. So that would help in terms of any, unscheduled pollution.
Okay, thank you. I take the point on the last part. I think there needs to be something that this material is inspected, in terms of the lagoon and the leak-proof nature of it, so that impermeable liners are wonderful. I've got one in my garden pond. They last for years, but they don't last forever. And you say this is retrospective. I don't know how many years this has been in place. So maybe there should be some sort of test as to the worthiness or the ability of this liner to actually hold the material from time to time. I'm not saying every 2 weeks, but from time to time, whatever's appropriate. If we could do that, I might be a bit more reassured.
Thank you. Eleanor, with regards to containment within the lagoon and spillage and responsibilities like that, would that not be a statutory requirement and therefore ruled by the Environment Agency? I just wonder if a condition is duplicating a provision that's already there.
Yeah, Chair, just bring your attention to informative number 2, which is about surface water quality. It says the proposed amendment shall fully comply in terms of the water resources. I won't read it all out. The applicant is advised to review the existing on-farm slurry storage and ensure compliance with the SSAFO regulations. So, and then there's a contact for the Environment Agency. So they are being given the details if that sort of issue comes up.
So really, a good point, David. It seems to already be covered. Quite happy, should you wish to have a further condition underlining the importance of that. I don't think that would be problematic.
I think given the informative and the legal responsibilities, I'm not sure where this the control of pollution regulations invoke testing or checking, but I'm sure that they are quite complex. So I'll leave it there. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Borden, Lyme Regis and Charmouth.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, my colleague here has already pretty well dealt with it. It was just to ask about the neighbours' concerns about the lighting and what the enforcement could be. But if the community liaison group is the same mechanism, then I'm happy with that. Thanks.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. If there are no more technical questions of officers, I'm happy to move into debate or take a proposal. I think, again, this application has probably demonstrated that many of our concerns have been alleviated, and thanks must go to the agent and the applicant for their cooperation in this. Councillor David Taylor, Chancellor St Mary.
Yeah, Chair, you've covered the thing which I was going to say, and say that very happy with the application. I'd like to put a proposal to actually accept it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Belinda Rideout.
Belinda Rideout, Gillingham Ward. I'm very happy to second that proposal.
Okay, so we have a proposal to grant the application as is. That's a PFUL 2025-00591, and that's been seconded. So shall we test that at vote now? So if members with a simple show of hands would like to indicate their preference for granting. And that, once again, is unanimous. So, again, for the record, PFUL 2025-00591, Rainbarrow Farm Anaerobic Digester Plant is granted. Thank you very much. Do we have any urgent items of business? We don't. And do we have any exempt business? We don't. Okay, thank you. So I would like to thank all of our members of public for coming and speaking today. I'd like to thank Megan Rochester for Senior Democratic Services support today, Joshua Kennedy, Democratic Services, Phil Crowther, lawyer, senior lawyer, and all presenting officers today, some of whom are not in the room. The close of the meeting is at 11:45. Thank you very much.